I'm a little overdue for this type of video, and that's me coming from me, which is going to surprise a lot of people when you see which quarterback we're going to talk about on today's episode. Because over the last month or so, a lot of you guys have been clamoring in the comment section for Joe Milton. We've got Carey, I trade for Joe Milton. King's Ransom, Joe Milton. And these are just a couple of people. There are literally hundreds of comment section if I command F Joe Milton in the community tab on YouTube Studio. I also want to show some love to those of you that were on the Joe Milton hype train from the very beginning. I found this comment from April of last year before the draft. Rich was saying Rook, not so great of a first year in Atlanta, but just a first year. Edgerrin Cooper, really good for the Packers. Remember, he was my number one, number two target for Cleveland. Green Bay got him a few picks before the Browns. Xavier Legette goes to the Panthers in round one. Bucky Irving, really strong year for the Buccaneers. And Kareem Ahmadji, he kind of sucked for the Bears, but just rookie, so no biggie. But Rich, he knew about this. True Browns. I really don't wish the Browns did sign so many backup QBs. I would have liked the Browns to take a long look at the Tennessee QB, Joe Milton. So shout out to those of you that were in on the Joe Milton hype train early on. I went back because as a Tennessee alum, I always had a special spot for Milton in my heart. In fact, you can look at my friend's college group chat from the very end of summer last year where I sent this Joe Milton tweet in our chat, and I was asking for apologies because of all the slander that was thrown Milton's way, and I was the only one defending him, and you can see how my friends responded. So I'm looking forward to cashing in some bets I made with them at some point. But yeah, safe to say that Joe Milton has been an up and down name through his first year in the NFL. There's a lot to like, but there's also a lot of concerns. Some people thought he would be a tight end at the next level. But then in the preseason with the Patriots, he showed some promise. And when his number finally got called in Week 18 last year, he put it on full display. But the reason why I'm finally addressing Joe Milton on the channel is because Tony Grossi talked about what it could cost to get Milton. And it definitely surprised me. Here's what he said. Sources closer to the situation than me expect the asking price of the Patriots to be a third-round pick. Let's discuss, because no, Joe Milton is not getting traded for a third-round pick after one good game in the regular season. You want to know how I know that? Because there are lots of recent examples like, say, Sam Howell, who had more than just one good game, and he went for way less than a third-round draft pick, and he's now, I think, out of the league. I don't think he's been signed by anyone. So I don't believe the former sixth-round draft pick from just a year ago is going to net a third for New England in a trade. Some background on him. He started off at Michigan, lost the starting gig eventually to Cade McNamara, who then lost to J.J. McCarthy, transfers to Tennessee, eventually loses the starting job there to Hendon Hooker, but regains his final year in Knoxville. It was an up and down year. He had some highlight moments. He had some missed throws for sure. He has an absolute howitzer of an arm. It is one of the strongest arms the NFL has seen at the Combine in recent memory. The arm talent, the ability to make all the throws is not a concern. The problem is the accuracy and the decision making. And that was the biggest knock against Joe, and that's why he fell to very late in day 3 of the draft. But I've always been a believer of Milton has shown me enough that I don't think he is just a average at best backup. I think there is some actual potential here. I won't proclaim this is going to be a bona fide, not just superstar, but a long-term starter for a team. But the arm talent, I usually don't fall trap to that. CC Anthony Richardson, but watching him play every single Saturday for a couple of years in Knoxville, there was more to the story than Joe Milton just has a really strong arm, but he has no accuracy. No, he also had some really bad receivers at Tennessee, and that showed the past 2 seasons. But when his number did get called in the regular season, because Drake May could barely even get into the game against, I think it was the Bills in Week 18. Yeah, when they rested all their starters. And the accuracy was not an issue then. 75% completion, 241 yards, a touchdown, using his legs as well. The guy is a unit. He is very tall, very big, and a really strong arm. He has all the athletic traits that teams look for in a quarterback. I mean, teams don't even look for these traits, right? This is just a surplus. This is going above and beyond. Now, his college numbers, this is really why he was not looked as a legitimate quarterback in the pre-draft process. In 2023, when he started for the Vols, 2,800 yards, 20 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. There was some bad tape out there. There were some misfires. There's no doubt. There's no excusing it. But there's also, for every overthrow, a drop pass because his receiver sucked. So, now that we have a good breakdown on Milton, let's talk about how realistic it could be the Browns trade for him. After they traded for Kenny Pickett, I'd say not very likely. I'm not going to slam the door shut on it because maybe Pickett was our developmental project. And now we want to look for a bridge option who's got more starting experience than, two gloves Kenny. And they were thinking Kirk Cousins, but Atlanta did not release him. All right, on to plan B. Russell Wilson. Well, they never really made an formal offer according to Jeremy Fowler. And what if the Giants sign him? Now you look around and there's not a lot of good bridge options. Carson Wentz could be like their plan C. Maybe they walk away from missing out on Cousins and Wilson and decide we could sign Carson Wentz. We wouldn't have to give up anything for him. What if we just toss another pick at a quarterback? We've got lots of them. The Browns have 10 draft picks. I don't expect them to make 10 selections, right? If you make 10 selections, you got to have 10 roster spots for them. And that's a good percentage of your roster. Not saying you should, avoid having a young roster, but 10's a big number. 9 could make things a little bit easier. So I could see it happening, but I feel like the possibility of it happening really took a blow when they traded for Pickett. That was their quarterback trade. I'd be surprised if Andrew Berry rebuilds this quarterback room via trades and the draft. Without any dabbling in free agency that requires 0 draft picks, purely using picks to put together your quarterback room, that's an expensive way to do it. Not cap space wise, but draft capital wise. So I like the idea as a Joe Milton stan for a long time now, before it was cool, before it was popular. I will not say no to this, but from a actual prediction and truth serum standpoint, I don't think it's very likely. I think Stefanski maybe could talk himself into it, but at the same time, when you look at Milton's profile as a quarterback, it doesn't scream Kevin Stefanski. The counter to that would be, guess what? Nothing is going to scream Kevin Stefanski. It's a bad time to be looking for a quarterback. That's just the cold, hard truth. It's a bad offseason to need a new starting quarterback. It's unlucky timing for Cleveland. A year ago, they would have been with Jaden Daniels, right? But he's not in this draft. I don't think there's anyone in this draft that's close to Jaden Daniels. Or really, almost anyone that went first round last year. There's no good options in free agency. So you got to make the best of it. And maybe Stefanski comes to that realization of, yeah, he may not fit what I look for in a quarterback real well, but newsflash, no one seems to really do that this offseason. Or no one that I think could play at a high level. So there are my 50 cents thoughts on, that was a weird number to pick, more than 2 cents thoughts on the idea of trading for Joe Milton, which a lot of you have suggested. And the Pickett trade, I think, definitely takes a big blow to that. And Stefanski does not really seem like a coach with the offense he runs that's searching for a QB like Milton, but maybe. That's really the best I can give you right now. Expect the unexpected. I think Fowler said it best. He was on the Rich Eisen show, and he was like, there's no team more unpredictable right now than the Browns. So anyone that's going to stand in front of you and say, I know what the Browns are doing, I think they're lying. I think they are guessing. And if they guess right, cha-ching. But if they guess wrong, then everyone forgets about them. I was in Vegas. Quick little side tangent. Quick story here. I was in Vegas a month ago, and there was a husband and wife at the roulette table, and they were very close to getting a divorce. because of the husband's gambling addictions. I mean, they just walked up to the table mid-fight. And she said, "You can't stop." And he said, "Watch this. I guarantee it hits." He put $100 on black and $100 on red. And everyone at the table was like, that's a desperate man right there. And I was thinking, if it lands on green, the divorce is finalized before the door closes. The dealer, I wouldn't say wouldn't let it happen, but said, I don't think you really want to do this. So they picked up the chips and walked away. So I bring that up because, yes, people can say they know what's going to happen, and maybe they're right. But I think they would just be a lucky guess more than a true, I'm connecting the dots when it comes to the Browns quarterback search. So let's pick a card. I'm going to Vegas again in a few days for another bachelor party. And that was an all-time move. I've never seen anyone do that to prove to their spouse, I have a lock. I'm going to put $100 on red and $100 on black. I wouldn't say I was rooting for green. I'll never bet on green, but that would have been the cherry on top for that story if it actually landed on green.
I mean, hey, it is a lock.
It's a 98%
Kind of.
lock.
98? Oh, is there two?
Well,
greens?
some casinos have 3 greens, and
What?
that's bullshit. Yeah, some casinos
does
added
that
a
even
third
mean?
green. 0, 00, and 000.
Never.
Which card do you want to go with, Mr. Barkus?
You know what? Let's go with classic ace of spades.
I'm going to go with Jack of clubs. It's a club, 2 of clubs. Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed today's episode, and we will talk tomorrow.